There are some who have tried to compare the establishment of open ties between the UAE and Israel with the Treaty of Hudaibiya. For those of you who don't know, the Treaty of Hudaibiya was an agreement signed between the Prophet of Islam, Muhammad, and the people of Quraysh who he was at war with when he sought to assert his rights over the Holy Mosque. So he took some of his followers, went to Mecca. The people of Quraysh tried to stop him. The Prophet prepared to fight. And then eventually the two came to an agreement whereby the Prophet would be allowed to return to Mecca and perform his rights the next year. And there would be a peace for 10 years. The reason the ties between Israel and the UAE cannot be compared to the Treaty of Hudaibiya is because the UAE were neither trying to assert their rights on Palestine and neither trying to assert their rights against the Israelis, nor were they preparing to go to war with the Israelis in the manner that the Prophet was about to go to war with Quraysh when they refused him access to the Holy Mosque. So these two key dynamics in the Treaty of Hudaibiya are non-existent in the current ties or the current dynamics between the UAE and Israel. Moreover, anybody who's read the UAE ambassador to Washington's op-ed in the Israeli newspaper by Yousef al-Otaiba will see that the language that is used in this op-ed is not a language of somebody who dreams of restoring the rights of the Palestinians, but rather of an ambitious Arab nation that is happy that it's finally got a powerful ally that is Israel, that it will be able to wield in order to try to further its ambitions, whether it's against Turkey, whether it's against Saudi Arabia, whether it's against Qatar or anybody else in its bid to become the new headquarters of the region. Mike Pompeo is now visiting a number of Arab capitals in a bid to coerce them into following the UAE's suit and announcing open relations with Israel, and Kushner is due in Oman in September in order to modify some of the details of the deal of the century and discuss the wider Palestine-Israel issue. It may well be that we will hear soon of an Arab initiative, a new Arab initiative with regards to the Palestine-Israel issue. However, this initiative will not be to solve the crisis, but more to help to soften and fend off the pressure that the US is applying. In other words, it will be a very similar model to King Abdullah in the early 2000s, when as a result of 9/11, the pressure on Saudi Arabia was so much and so significant that there were genuine fears that after Iraq, the US would direct its troops towards Saudi Arabia. And as part of the policy of fending off that US pressure, King Abdullah proposed an initiative for the Palestine-Israel issue that was enough for the Americans to take seriously, but not serious enough for it to actually work. And it was enough to ensure that Saudi Arabia could not be blamed for its failure. In other words, it was just a political ploy with no sincere intention to bring a solution to the conflict. And we may well see an initiative produced by the Arabs in a similar vein as a result of this huge pressure being applied that has been brought about by the UAE's actions.